Hi guys, my name is Nolima Dikela. Welcome to my YouTube channel. So today I want us to talk about Umuhlahlo. Do you guys remember that Xhosa lady that came through to give witness who was working with Musia? She arrived the second day. She arrived the following day on the 27th on Monday. I think it was around 9 o'clock. Yes, that's when she arrived in the crime scene. Before we do that, guys, please make sure you do not forget to like, to share, to comment. And most importantly, please make sure you are subscribed on the channel. Please make sure you are watching the videos up until the end and you are watching the ads that are coming through. When you are doing that, you will be supporting this channel financially and in numbers. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you. Now, let's get into Muhlahlo. Senzomeyiwa trial, the credibility, the contamination, the collapse of the case, and let's analyze Muhlahlo's testimony in this video because wow, girl. Anyway, so we are going to be dealing with forensic defense grade tear down of Muhlahlo's testimony, structured the way she was so sure of herself, girl. The way she was so sure of herself, girl. But okay, so let's see what's going to happen because Ugel thought she was being ruthless and she will dismantle the entire cross-examination. That's what she was thinking of herself. She was just full of herself, thinking that I suka anaxesha labo mna. Waza yena la attitude ke sanuke. Okokuqala nje, who is Muhlahlo in the state story? Let's get there. Muhlahlo is not a neutral narrator. She has a role that she was playing. Her role is instrumental. She is used to plug gaps left by earlier witnesses. That's what I could get from her. She confirmed contested versions. She is used to, these are the things that she's used to. Let me start. She's used to plugging gaps left by earlier witnesses, which in this case, she was here to help Musia. Secondly, she's used to confirm contested versions of other witnesses, which in this case, Musia. And then she normalizes investigative shortcuts. That's what I could get from what she was doing. That already places her in a high-risk contamination zone for me. That, for me, is what exactly puts her in a high-risk zone. Rule number one here. The later witness testified, the later the witness testifies, the heavier the burden of independence. Muhlahlo fails that burden. She did. Secondly, one of the other problems, core problem, she testified after the story was set. By the time Muhlahlo entered the witness box, the state narrative is already public. Key witnesses have testified, media versions are circulating, police theories are fixed. Let's look at it in the legal consequence kind of vibes. This is post-factor corroboration, not original evidence. Courts treat such testimony with extreme caution because it risks unconscious alignment. It invites story convergence. It rewards memory construction. And these are the things that the appeal court really like. They pay attention to these things. And who made them sure of herself here? If guys okay, la film yakudala esithi unyana womuntu kuba usamkhumbula uNoziqhama, she was giving those vibes zikaNoziqhama eyothethelela ubantu uba akambulelanga uDora. She was there ethethelela ubantu. Wayenikeza eza vibes zikaNoziqhama, andiyazi noba nanikhe nayibukela nala film dala back in the day. I think I was still in primary school. Unyana womuntu idlalwa ubantu zathu watyholwa ngokubulala umfazi wakhe wayeyinesi uDora. Yena, he was an accountant. I don't know if niyayazi la film, but yes, she was giving those vibes uMhlahlo neshori yakhe ugirl neshori yakhe. And then the third thing that I noticed, and then there were so many internal contradictions. The testimony itself ate itself, if you know what I mean. Because between her and Musia, I'm talking about busy sana. Firstly, I-timeline yakhona nje elasticity of the timeline uMohlahlo's time references shift depending on the question, are rounded, not precise, conflict with fixed data, call logs, movements, earlier testimony ka Musia. Do you guys remember that? And there was a red flag that was doing the rounds, psychological red flag there. Truthful memory is messy but anchored. Fabricated or influenced memory is smooth but elastic. That's what I could gather when it comes to her. And the second part, when it comes to this thing of internal contradictions, selective detailed syndrome, she had that. And yes, guys, if you guys manage to catch that, Mohlahlo remembers high impact facts that help the state, forgets procedural basics that would expose flaws, and the procedures that she is supposed to know by heart, especially when it comes to her long-term service or experience in the SERPS department. Yes, this pattern is classic motivated recall, because what is this? It's an you don't get to forget how you got information but perfectly remember what helps your case. You don't do that. You better remember all aspects. And the number 4, when it comes to these things now, contamination of where did her knowledge come from? Let's get into that. Ask one question repeatedly. How did you personally come to know this? Mohlahlo's answers collapsed into I was informed, it was explained, we later established. Which one is which? Which one is which one? Utini kanye kanye. Utini. She thought she ate girl, but son. We could like literally see right through her, right through everything that she thinks she was doing. They're saving the state case, but we saw everything that needed to be seen there. Sasipa, we were present. So none of those evidence, they are derivative conclusions that she made, because she was banking on making sure she's winning for the state case. It was not about telling the truth or dealing with things as they come. And there's something else that is particularly happening in that, happened in the Senzo Meyiwa case during the state case. There was a witness chain infection. I don't know if you guys noticed that, but there was. Mohlahlo's version mirrors earlier witnesses' language, repeats identical phrasing, shares identical assumptions. This is cross-pollination, not corroboration. They think people are dumb, Abaya. No, we could see. We could make our own. We may not be lawyers or anything, but we could also analyze what was happening there. Independent witnesses disagree on details. Contaminated witnesses agree on the story. And that is exactly what was happening in that situation. Point number 5, investigative bias. She defended the process, not the truth. That is what she did there. She defended the brown envelope situation. She defended Ukuti, things were not on a see-through bag. Yeah, she defended. A dangerous shift occurs in Mohlahlo's testimony. She stopped describing facts and started justifying the investigation. That includes explaining away missing steps, rationalizing delays, normalizing deviations. She did all of that. And that converts her from witness to advocate. That's what she was busy doing, advocating for the state case and for what she was saying there. Courts distrust witnesses who argue instead of recall. And that is why I keep saying, when it comes to appeal, Judge Rata normally says if this case goes somewhere, of which now he sounds as if he is going to make sure that it goes somewhere. One thing for sure, he will take it somewhere. And he knows the court rules. He does. Number 6, cross-examination can go. And the 5 questions that broke Mohlahlo in 10 minutes. Number one, she was asked, before you testify, which witness evidence were you aware of? She was asked another question. Let's forget about her answers. I'll tell you about the questions, that only 5. She was also asked, who explained the case theory to you and where? Guys, if you find the videos of this cross-examination, please go and listen. Number 3, which facts do you know about relying on police briefings? Number 4, what independent record confirms your version? Number 5, if this investigation was sound, why are you explaining instead of proving? She doesn't survive that sequence at all. And I don't think Ugel realized what happened to her. I don't think she did. And also there was comparative damage. Like let's deal with Mohlahlo versus the record. Let's test all of that. Independence, it failed. Originality, it failed. Timeline integrity, failed. Procedural neutrality, failed. Contamination resistant, failed. And Mohlahlo's cross-examination and testimony, all of that failed, guys. All of that. And also, one thing that we can honestly say when it comes to her is that Mohlahlo's testimony is not corroborative, but derivative. It is shaped by prior disclosures aligned to an established theory and aimed at insinuating or insulting investigative deficiencies rather than revealing facts. No reasonable court can rely on such evidence without violating the accused's right to a fair trial, whether siyathanda or asithandi. Umhlahlo was not it, guys. What are your thoughts? What do you remember about Umhlahlo, except for a cheeky, except ukuzigqatsa, except ukuzenza tsolo, except ukuba neshore? What else do you remember about her? Let's talk with comment section. I want to hear your views. Thank you so much. I will see you on our next video. Okay? I'll see you on our next video. Enjoy your day. Bye-bye.